Hey everybody, let me turn this around for you. Hey everybody, I'm working out. A quick one, but it occurred to me that it was important to make a preview vlog of a live stream I'm going to do later today in about an hour or so. The difficulty with meeting my time slots at many points is that I have other obligations regarding the reason I'm here that, sometimes have to be done first. That's life. But my point is, let me tweet this out right away. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get this. Excuse me while I tweet this out. To turn a phrase from Blazing Saddles. All right. Okay, hold on a second. And that should, I guess it's too long. That's a long one. Preview. Let's try this. Back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up. Okay, like that. Boom. Okay, tweet. There. All right, that's out. All right. Hey, how you doing? Okay, now I tweeted that out. What I've discovered in this entire matter of discussing the Oakland Athletics' attempt to get approval to build a ballpark in Las Vegas is the large number of, not large, in fact, technically it isn't a large number, but it's a number of journalists or people who call themselves journalists who are with brands that in some cases you recognize, like LA Times or USA Today, that do really bad journalism. All right, what do I mean? And first of all, I am not a journalist. I am a blogger. And the reason why is I have my biases. I let you know where they are. I am not objective. What I don't like today is there are people, particularly these nonprofit organizations that claim to harbor journalists who then say, hey, they're objective and they don't take money to espouse a point of view, but then you turn around and you discover that actually they do, all right? But what I'm talking about in this instance is journalists' so-called unwillingness to realize there's the internet and that people can check on things that they put out. For example, this idea, first one, that the Oakland Athletics claimed that they would need 30,000 or get more than 30,000, and that's what was needed to make the deal pencil out. First, the Athletics never wrote that at all. Neither did Bally's. Bally's reported that they were the ones that issued the press release, right? Bally's issued the press release that announced an expected 2.5 million visitors and said that they expected to sell 30,000 tickets. So someone took those numbers, I believe with the LA Times first, and put them together and said, well, that means that they would have over 30,000 attendance per game, all right? That's them coming up with that number. But they didn't stop to think, well, hey, maybe what they're thinking about, talking about Bally's, who did issue the press release, which also intends to build other developments next to the ballpark, that this entire sports entertainment district will draw 2.5 million visitors a year. Okay? And those folks, now this is a takeoff because they didn't say this, I'm saying it. Those folks, I would think, would be able to buy SRO tickets or just peer in to see what's going on at this attraction, not necessarily having to buy a ticket, but then they would be available. And I would think, in order to assure ticket sales, the rule would be, hey, if it sells out, we open SRO, right? But in other words, we're going to allow you to look in there anyway, but if you want to be in and standing remotely, we're going to offer that too. Those are possibilities, but they're based on SRO opportunities already available at great ballparks like Oracle Park, where the Giants play in San Francisco. We used to lovingly call it Pac-Bell Park for years, right? So my point is, all of the information that flowed from that press release was created, for the most part, by journalists putting their own guesses on it, not even bothered to try to confirm them, having no experience whatsoever in development or stadium development economics or urban planning or city planning. Nothing like that. And yet all these folks have come up with these ideas. Like, hey, Ralph, I gotta tell you this. Hold on a second. You're gonna love this, all right? Telling my friend here at the gym, he's a big Vegas fan, all right? If I tell you that a sports entertainment complex is expecting 2.5 million visitors, but I don't mention the ballpark, that means they might see the ballpark, but they'll do other things, right? See? Probably. Now, these so-called journalists going off and basically saying,
see the Vegas A's.
Right. See, right, exactly. That's exactly my point. So don't you think, so don't you think it's stupid for anybody who calls themselves a journalist to then say, well, that means that they're expecting more people there than will fill out the seats and they're lying. That's what they're saying. Okay? I mean, why don't you just say you don't like the idea? Why don't you just say, hey, you're biased against it? But stop taking information and twisting it and making it look like somebody else created it when you did. And that is what my next video is about. Am I right? Yeah, this is ridiculous, Ralph. That's exactly what they're going. But see, what's going on is you have people who, some of them I think are paid anyway, who don't like John Fisher, who want to sell publications, and so they figure, oh, hey, we'll pick on the billionaire because the fans don't like him, and therefore the fans will buy our publications to see what we have to say about them, even though we're not selling enough to pencil out, and we're about to lay off more people.
And they're going to put a parking garage.
Yeah, the parking garage. There you go. Thank you, Ralph. Yeah, see? He knows what I'm talking about. Complete garbage, folks. All right? Complete, absolute garbage. And this is the rest of America looking at Oakland and saying, what are you doing? You know? Oakland spends too much time contemplating its own navel. And not even in a good way. It's like, hey, we did the right thing. It's always like, let's justify what we did. Let's rubber stamp it. It's never introspective. And it's gotten worse under a strong mayor system. All right? But what I'm getting into is that if you start looking at the actual numbers now that were put out after Stephen Hill, the president of the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, and Jeremy Arguello, who's the consultant to the A's and the principal of applied analytics, gave their presentation, they actually put out tax revenue numbers. Well, guess what I did with those tax revenue numbers? I crunched those numbers too against an expected debt service assuming a 6% interest rate of $261 million. You know what I found? That over a 5-year period, since those taxes are going to be pledged to the retirement of the bond anyway, guess what I found? They retired the bond in 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. Even though the bond issue is for 30 years, and using a level debt service, you're looking at just north of $8 million annually for the debt service, all right? So you're going to say, what do they do with that extra money? What they're going to do is put it into a waterfall fund. I think, however, what they'll do is probably ask for an early retirement of the bond. I'm not sure. I'll check with my friend source to find out. But the bottom line is, the tax revenue that they're expected to generate which leaves is just $44 million less than the $306 million. $44 million greater than the $261 million bond cost. So you're talking about $304 million of tax revenue over a 5-year period. We're talking about 30 years. That's an additional 25 million years to collect that. All right. He would say, Zinni, why are those numbers so great? Very simple. Because the bond issue is only $120 million. You got all these yahoos, including these journalists, and then you have others who just want to put their own lies on the deal to make it look bad. Oh, they're saying, well, it's $500 million. they forget that the majority of the deal is tax credits. Tax credits are not the risk of the county. The people don't have to worry about anything. Do you know who suffers the risk? The A's. As far as the people going to the entertainment district, you got MGM across the street, Oyo Hotel on the same side of the street, but just like a property line over. And undoubtedly, they're probably going to beg to build a pedestrian bridge from their property to that one, unless somebody else manages to buy it or happens to make an offer that Oyo can't refuse. And you would have you've got Luxor nearby. That is literally the heart of the South Strip. And let's not forget that by the time the ballpark opens, I believe Tillman Fertitta will have his casino and hotel nearby as well. So there will be additional monies to be gained from new spending from people who are baseball fans who maybe have been to Las Vegas once in 5 years. The people who talk about that, they say, oh, well, they're going to go there anyway. Look, they would go there to gamble, but guess what? You can go to a gambling house, a casino, within an hour's drive, thank you, sir, Chris, within an hour's drive, all right, of your home, wherever you live in the United States, in this great country, all right? That's the way it is right now. You can do that, okay? That's why Mr. Adelson brought the Raiders, because he started all this, rest in peace. The visionary brought the Raiders, seeing an opportunity from Oakland to Las Vegas. Put up a fair amount of front money. At one point, as I understand it, Mark was going to give the Raiders to Mr. Adelson's children, all right? But I digress. My point is, Adelson recognized a long time ago that the Las Vegas economy needed to be reset or put on a path of resetting so that gambling wasn't the only thing. And I'm not saying he was the only person to think that way. Stephen Hill did. That's why he was trying to, I think he did the Faraday Futures project, which didn't go well, and now they're doing movies, and there are other ways they've tried to develop a tech, a tech industry, right? But they have some other problems, that among them education, lack of warehouse space, mainly education. They're not known for having top-notch educational facilities, let alone an environment that has encouraged completely freewheeling behavior, where you get out of that as a byproduct people who come up with really interesting tech applications. All right. So Chris says, Zenny, can you take us back to 1994 when the Raiders are coming back to Oakland? Wouldn't it be cheaper, 1996, but wouldn't it be cheaper to give Al the Coliseum than build the A's ballpark? I think my thought is to give Al, when you say give Al the Coliseum, back then, well, the problem is that you had the A's there, and if it would have been cheaper, no, because for one thing, when you give the A's a ballpark under the configuration then, all right, and 94 was when the deal was officially first presented. Actually, it was 93, but I digress. My point is, you have to say to the A's, hey, where is their revenue going to go? So that means the A's are going to pay the Raiders? Would the A's want that? No, not at all. The opportunity to have a ballpark for different, or a stadium, was necessary to do and allow at the Coliseum for one reason: Camden Yards. 93, Camden Yards opened, and it entirely changed what stadium developers thought was possible when it took a female architect, let's not forget that, to show everybody the error of their ways in design and create something that people truly wanted to be in, that harkened back to the older days of baseball. And he says, yes, would have. Even cheaper to give the Albert Coliseum than the 90s ticket. I don't know that it would have been cheaper, okay? And I need to calculate that out before I agree to that, because you've got, when I say cheaper, I'm thinking of the opportunity cost. You're giving that money to the Raiders. You have the A's playing there, which if I were owning the A's, I would object to, because if you're going to do that for the Raiders, then I as the A's would say, wait a minute, why would you give them the opportunity to make money off me, but not me the opportunity to make money off them? Okay, that doesn't fly with anybody. Okay, and the A's probably sue. I would, if I were owning the A's, I would sue on the basis of lost opportunity cost and favoritism, unnecessary and warranted favoritism, and I would throw every kind of accusation in the book just to win my case because I hated what you guys did. That's what I would do if I were the A's. Okay, hardball, because you don't do that. Every stadium tenant is a partner, particularly on a major level. You don't do that to the A's. That would be wrong. Our original plan was to build a ballpark for the A's. We slow rolled it. I remember in 1997, when I was 96, when I was working for L.E. Harris as economic advisor, and I believe it was on the 31st, that was a Monday, September, at the Tuesday of September, at the Community Economic Development Agency morning meeting, committee morning meeting, I put on the agenda for discussion building a ballpark for the A's. Then Oakland Councilmember Nate Miley said to me, Zenny, we just spent $200 million getting back the Raiders. You mean to tell me we have to do it for the A's? I said, yeah. You don't know why? Because Camden Yards. I told him, I said, we're going to be obsolete. That was in 1996. 96, right? 86, 2006. We got anything new? 2006, where were we? Choose or lose the A's, right? Why? Because the A's needed a ballpark. In 2009, where were we? Major League Baseball is talking about contracting the A's out of Oakland, right? That's what we're talking about. And so, okay, so then here we are, 2009, 2019, okay? We're talking about Coliseum City. The A's are on, the Raiders are on the way out. And what happened in 2019? The passage of SB 293 Skinner, and the city did nothing with it. You see that history? That is an awful history of do-nothingness. That's exactly what has happened. Do-nothingness, all right? And have these so-called journalists reported that? No, they haven't. They haven't. Because their editors and news producers are saying, we want access, we don't want them not to talk to us. You know what? This is the age where people are producing their own media, so that media that you guys trust, you gotta stop trusting. Because what's gonna happen is what is already happening. They're building countervailing power centers. People who are producing their own news because it comes from them, or hiring to have it produced, and we're saying, hey, look, I'll tell you in a second when I'm representing somebody, but also tell you when I'm not. But see, for example, there are other publications in Oakland, nonprofit, they won't tell you where their money comes from. They won't be honest about it. You have to actually get photographs of a fundraiser held for them at a friend of mine's house, okay, because they're running out of money. And who came, among others? Not less than 5 different Oakland council members. All right? Drinking wine, in some cases copious amounts of wine. All right? So my point is, they didn't tell you that. They didn't even talk about it when I admitted it. But I digress. But they want to call themselves journalists. Gotcha, okay? Oh yeah, gotcha. Give me a break, okay? Getting back to the matter of the athletics ballpark in Las Vegas. Just lay out the truth and let the people decide. But stop bending the truth so that you can have them make decisions, okay? And yeah, Vegas, Mark says, thanks to the internet, social media, we the people are the press. That's right. That's precisely what's going on. You can't fool people now, all right? You can't. And the simple fact of the matter is there's a new way of doing media that these others don't do. But what I'm tired of are people that, I respect. Like I respect Tim Kawakami, okay? From back in the day, and I even came to his defense when a Raider executive, who shall remain nameless for this point, was yelling at him. This is on video. Gave him in front of all the other press, pointing fingers in his face. He'd have done that to me, all right? Someone would have to call the police on me. You do not point the fingers in my face. But that's what he did. He pointed the finger in his face. You know, Tim's shorter than him. Just Herrera. I don't care, protect him anyway. Herrera. But he had no business doing that. So I openly came to Tim's defense in my SF Gate blog post. All right? Because no one else did. Folks are wusses. You hear what I'm saying? You let somebody talk to you like that, and then for all of them to stand around and just watch and video. Like, oh, here's Tim getting blanked out. Oh, you know? But then they'll say, oh, we respect him. You don't respect somebody if you're not going to come to their defense. You understand? You do not respect somebody if you're not going to come to their defense. I came to his defense. So here's Tim out there now, coughing up the same garbage the LA Times and USA Today are coughing up. USA Today calls on my friend Roger Knoll, who loves making money off telling untruths and using his economist tag to speak authoritatively about stadiums, when in point of fact, he will admit to you when he's wrong. Why? Because he's done that with me when I called him out in front of a group of people in Oakland. And I didn't call him out in the way to being mean. I love Roger. But I was debating, okay? And when I debate to win, all right? And my point is, he knew that he didn't look thoroughly then at the issue we were debating about, nor did he look at what Gabe of the USA Today brought to him, which was, oh, well, don't you think that, you know, they're overstating this because they have these over high expected sellouts, and it's not a sellout. Again, 2.5 million people visiting the sports entertainment complex, some of them watching the game. They're not all going to be there, but they can all do SRO. All right? That is something that people design for today, and especially at a complex like that, where you have to have sloshing of monies around in order to generate tax revenue to do what? Pay off the bond issue fast. That's the idea, okay? So, I mean, that's the idea. If you're a smart legislator, what you should be asking for is, knowing there's going to be a waterfall, how about maybe kick some of that waterfall toward security locally, right? How about kick some of that waterfall to business assistance to help those businesses survive in case there's another pandemic or downturn? Be smart as people who run government and create policies for it. But stop this left-right oriented thinking, and the press so doggone well stop it too, okay? So anyway, I'm going to say that's enough. I'm going to save the rest for when I start the live stream, which should be now 7:30 to 8. All right, thanks everybody. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube. And please like and subscribe and share this live stream. See ya.